Well, okay, so first of all, welcome back to the Gut Shot podcast. Myself, Chuang, and Sam. I can't help laughing at
Good morning.
with you, Sam, not at you, because of your, is it a brocade or a brooch or an amulet? And of course, your 10-gallon hat from Liddy's, right? Which you bought from Fort Worth.
Yeah, I did. I just got this by mail late last week. Because it's just too big to bring it on the airline.
Too big.
So my buddies decided to mail it for me. So I've got this 10-gallon Stetson from Liddy's at the stockyard. I recommend people to go there in stockyard. It's a very interesting place. The best steak in town. And and this is a bolo hat I had for actually probably more like 10 years, more than 10 years ago that I bought in Nevada.
Yeah.
So I thought it looked pretty neat, with the cowboy hat and a bolo tie for a change.
So if basically Bobby Ewing and Steven Seagal had a child in Pirate Bunta in Malaysia, you would appear on the other side.
If they had a black lady to go along with that.
Yeah. So all this is happening, and we are a few days of course, it's been a couple of weeks since the Charlie Kirk assassination. The memorial's been held. It was a very sad day in America. But the thing is, because America is so divided, it was quite, I would say, a point of anguish for me, sitting as I do thousands of miles away from America, is how America's people had two, in fact, very, very different approaches to the whole occasion, right? It just seems to me that America is so deeply divided among different schisms that what was actually a very traumatic experience from America was actually on one side celebrated, on the other side traumatized. I mean, can you talk about that, Sam?
Well,
about this whole event.
I watched a bit. I think I watched the whole speech made by the widow, Erica Kirk, who has been appointed as the CEO of Turning Point USA. Yeah, and actually, it was such a moving speech. It's one of the best speeches I've ever heard. Did you manage to catch that?
Well, I don't even need to listen because, I mean, obviously she's a young wife, mother of 2 young children.
She's older than him, you know?
Yeah, but they're both very young, right?
Yeah, relatively speaking. Yeah.
And to have her husband taken away in the prime of his life, right? In full public view, I can't imagine the kind of anguish she must be going through, you know?
Yeah.
And so...
But I think it would be... it will be instructional actually for anyone to actually listen to that particular speech. The thing that struck me is because the Christian upbringing and the Christian nature of the whole ceremony, because it's basically a memorial service, right? And neither of us are Christians, right? But
well,
I think
I would go further to say that I just have some disdain for organized faith in general.
In essence, I think you and I both speak the same language.
Be the same team, right?
Yeah. But, I think the world would have been a better place if that is how people practice their religion. And I think the message that was that carried through, and the vigil. They did the memorial service at the Phoenix Stadium, which is what I used to know it as still is where the NFL football team, the Cardinals play. Yeah. Actually, so that stadium, I think, seats between 60,000 to 75,000 people at the very least, I could say. And that place is packed. And not just packed, outside of the memorial itself was already full of people who can't get in. So you can see the outpouring of sentiment in that regard, with respect to how much Kirk has meant to the people in general, whether, as you put it, half of the country or even maybe more. I think there are a lot of sympathy even from the left side. in terms of condemnation of the assassination. However, what is jarring is actually how the mainstream media cover it. But I would like to go back to the memorial itself, which is quite a spectacle that was organized by Turning Point. That by itself tells you something. That organization that he has built is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think they've just probably not just strengthened that organization. You are talking about the President of the United States attending, the Vice President attending. Practically, I think all the cabinet ministers were there, not to mention the congressional delegation, right? So, and then all the ordinary people was there. So that shows you how much Charlie Kirk had meant for the MAGA movement and for the conservative movement of America. That by itself, I think, should tell the opposite side that the creation of this martyr is not going to die away. The other thing that I think very interestingly when you bring up about the schism, I think that's more when you look at the celebratory tone of certain individuals in social media. I think social media brings in the worst of people. That's number one. We all know that, right? Number two, I think the media, the mainstream media, as I've always said, and I think we should all recognize, is very much left-leaning, and what they try to do is either deflect the responsibility of the leftist extreme propaganda that's been going on for more than 15 years within the mainstream media that actually helps foment this kind of hatred.
Okay, so this is here it is, right? So,
Yeah.
so for someone like me who is, I would consider myself a liberal.
Yeah.
I'm quite centrist. I don't have a faith. I don't identify with any one bloc or another. And I see what's happening in the US as being very disconcerting. Not only does this whole schism speak to for example, Ray Dalio's 4 or 5 pillars of disruption that is going to rent America asunder. It also seems to me that because both sides seem to want to continue to be on their side. So the left criticizes the right criticizes the left, and everybody talks about this administration, that administration, the faults of this guy versus that guy. It doesn't seem to me, and I could be completely wrong here, it doesn't seem to me that not many people in America seem to want to traverse this divide and to unify the people.
Well, actually, Charlie,
I could be wrong, Sam. I could be wrong, right? Because when I go on the media, whether it's whatever social media, whatever mainstream media, right? Everybody talks about, the Trump administration is doing this, the Orange Hat movement is doing that, the Biden administration did that. They're still both.
Well,
they're both still lambasting each other, right?
May I do this?
Who is going to unify the world's?
You're not gonna have. Let me put it this way: the only country that are unified are authoritarian countries.
Not necessarily.
Yes, it is.
Okay, look at South Korea.
All right.
Homogeneous, unified to some extent.
No.
Move in one direction.
No.
Generally speaking.
No. You look at what's going on. I mean, they just
Singapore,
brought down
for example.
just brought down. Again, you've given me an example of an authoritarian government.
You're right. Okay. PAP, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, the thing is...
So, can I do this? Because I think you've brought this subject matter quite a few times.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm gonna make this case.
Yeah.
And so it's very much not just a philosophical case, but actually to me, it's a reality of history. That that when you don't have authoritarianism that is controlling thoughts, you will have unity, so-called unity, but it's all brimming under the surface.
Correct. Okay.
But when you have freedom you're going to have chaos. Chaos is actually the characteristics of a democracy, the characteristics of a free society. How much chaos do you have? Actually, it's amazing to think about. People really do not understand because they've never either not lived there. I still remember how much vilified Reagan was. I still remember how much vilified, at least in my adult life, right?
Nixon.
Yeah. Nixon is way before me, right? Even Clinton.
Okay, so to which I would reply, Sam. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are extents of differing thoughts in countries. That much is true, especially the bigger you get and the more complex and diverse your population, the more diverse your thoughts and opinions, right? What we have in America, to me, okay, it seems to me that it's boiling over, and it's boiling over in violent confrontation. I would also say this, right? In 1965, or around about maybe the mid 20th century, there was only something like maybe 70 or 80 countries in the world, 90 countries in the world, right? Today we've got something like 240 countries in the world. Okay, and as far as I know, there's at least 30 to 40 countries in the world now who have parts of their nation seeking secession, i.e. separation. You've got the Basque region in Spain, and I know Texas has been trying to secede from America for some time, right? Alaska doesn't feel that it's part of America. Hawaii, to some extent, doesn't feel like it's some part of America. And who knows? My question to you is this, right? Does America boil over with this internal dissent that it fragments?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to me at all. I think the thing is what people see or what people want to see, and I don't read Dalio much at all, if any. Actually, I know a bit of his economic thoughts, but I would say this. It's a nature of America has always been like that. Texas is not seceding. Neither is, this talk of Texas or Texans. It's a huge state.
Texas, actually, you're actually a Texan in disguise.
It can be its own country, so to speak.
Of course,
right?
it's got an economy bigger than 95% of the world.
So is California.
So is Cali, yeah, I understand, yeah.
But, I think before we go into that, I mean, the whole issue of it is basically, the motto of the country is "Si pluribus unum." Okay, from many becomes one. Okay, and that is very true about America, and that is how they have succeeded and why they are very innovative. It's because from chaos is where you actually get innovation. Without that chaos, you won't get a Charlie Kirk. You won't get a Muhammad Ali. You won't get thinkers.
I agree with all that.
I'm going to make this comparison before we close out on the memorial of Charlie Kirk. I want to say this though. For me, I think I've come to this realization when I see the response from left and right, and actually from mainstream media on Kirk. I would brand Charlie as being the Malcolm X of the 21st century for America.
There are certainly similarities.
Yeah, because why? I see how much Charlie is slandered by the right, by the left side of the spectrum, by the mainstream media. How his words are twisted to make him sound as if he's a racist and a white supremacist. And if you look at all the clips, I challenge you to look at all the clips and all his talks and take anything that is controversial, right? And I will unpack it and I will say to you, I absolutely agree with him. All right? So, and that's what has happened with Malcolm, which is what was he teaching? Which is what Charlie is teaching. Accountability, self-independence, meritocracy, doing it for yourself.
I think the similarities with Malcolm X and Malcolm X and Charlie Kirk are a little bit more macro than that. Of course, I mean those were the subject matter topics of his
it is also macro from the standpoint of how they are being viewed by the opposing party. And both suffered the same consequence.
Malcolm X came out in the late 60s and mid 60s, right? He was actually talking to a vast swath of the American public, namely at the time the Black Americans, right?
Yeah.
Who were chafing at the injustices of the American system from hundreds of years, right? And he was speaking to the civil rights movement at the time, and in that sense, the similarities are quite considerable.
He was practically almost the opposite of Malcolm of Martin Luther King.
Well, yeah, they both railed against each other, but I mean the similarities are quite there.
But their philosophy is very different, eh?
Okay, I'm not drawing a similarity between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. I'm just saying in terms of the similarities between Charlie Kirk and Malcolm X, and you saying that they both entered martyrdom in some sense, right?
Yeah, not just that. They were both derided by the opposition.
Yes, because they offered an alternative to the status quo.
Mainstream.
An alternative to the status quo.
Yeah.
Which at the time was mainstream, right?
And in this instance, who was Charlie talking to? Charlie was talking to young men. Charlie was talking to young men who were feeling alienated from the system that is now telling them they have to indulge in this white guilt. They have to indulge and apologize for what their ancestors had done.
So I know, Sam, that we are going, young men today are going through a very, very, very material,
it's a crisis.
Existential crisis. They don't know where they stand in society. They don't know what it means to be a man anymore. They don't know what it means to be a male anymore. And because of
the
that,
loss
and because
of faith
of social
in the
media,
American in the faith and belief. Okay,
it's not just America; it's a global thing.
Well,
and the only reason why I know this. It's because unlike you, and I shouldn't maybe offer too much personal detail. I also have a son,
okay,
and I can see that the pressures they're going through. I can see the challenges they're trying to make sense of. And where do they go? They go to social media. They go to Instagram. They go to YouTube. They go to Snapchat. They go to these dark chats, and then they talk to each other, and then they. What do they know? They're being told it's even wrong to sit in a certain way when, maybe your hip bones don't prevent you from crossing your legs like a woman does, right? It's as banal as that. And it's crazy to think that my generation, we were very clear what it meant to be a man.
Yeah.
You were strong mentally. You were strong physically.
Yeah.
You stood up for yourself.
Yeah.
You bore a load. You bear a load for the family. You grow up. You get a job. You provide. I mean, that continues to be my job today.
I think
so the thing is, right, what I'm trying to say, people like Tyler Robinson and their ilk in America who are lost, right? And they try and find solutions to social media which don't offer them deep solutions. And it is people like that who, when confronted and asked about their ideologies, they're very shallow in their ideologies. And then a small minority of them come out and bear arms and then shoots people who offer an alternative that they don't understand.
And this is the problem, actually, I think, of the mainstream media. And I want to talk to the, if we have the chance to talk to some of the speakers within the American spectrum, for us here watching outside in, right? With our mindset and how we've been brought up from the Asian perspective, okay? I think it has also infected our culture because the Western culture promoted by the mainstream media is quite pervasive.
Okay, I want to say this, right? This is something I've been wanting to say for a long time.
Yeah.
I think the Americans should learn from the Malaysians. Because the Malaysians have been able to, from an evolutionary perspective, and I only say this half facetiously, right?
Okay.
Built an innate sense of smelling bullshit. Because we've had decades of perverted media in this country. We now read publication A, publication B, I shall not name names for fear of reprisal, okay? And then Malaysians have smelled they've cultivated this very acute sense of smell of bullshit that they are now being able to triangulate the truth between what they read in the mainstream, what they read in social media, and what they know themselves. And then the Americans, I think, need to learn this skill.
I think
because what you say about the mainstream media is 100% correct. What you say about social media is 100% correct. I think Americans need to be able to be like Malaysians and find the truth somewhere out there. A little bit like Scully and Mulder.
Buddy,
because it's out there somewhere.
You know something. You're giving Malaysian too much credit.
I'm talking about people like you and me, unfortunately. Not all Malaysians, unfortunately. Some Malaysians.
No, I have a very simple view of how things work. 80% of human beings are just followers. Okay? And followers don't think the way we do. All right. So I think the fact that I would urge everybody to actually just listen to Erica's speech. I think it is eye-opening.
Erica Kirk.
Kirk's. I think it's eye-opening, and I think that actually it would take for a widow to forgive the person who killed her husband in the speech itself. And how she went about doing it, okay, tells a lot about the character of that person. Okay, tells a lot about the movement that Kirk built. In fact, his debate in campus was to bring people like those young people who killed him, to be able to have a conversation. You wouldn't believe the number of people that he converted to his side in terms of the way of thinking of how to be a man, especially young men. Because it's very easy for you to look at. You know why? For the first time in electoral history, the Republican Party elected Donald Trump with a majority of young men. All right? So that by itself is already proof, and that's why he's so dangerous to the mainstream and the left-leaning philosophy and ideology. Now, the question is why we are having this existential crisis is because
we or America?
The whole thing. If you ask me, I see the same thing in America, I see the same thing in Europe, I see the same thing in UK, and I don't know how much do you spend time with Malaysian youth. Okay?
Oh, they are very confused.
They are very confused.
They are very confused.
Absolutely. And why are they not confused? Because of this monster.
Okay, I will go further. Okay. In America, there's this idea called the fourth turning, right? The fourth turning is basically a tectonic shift in cultural values and identity, right? It's not just in the West. I speak to feng shui experts. In fact, the first time I came across this idea that it actually exists in Malaysia, Asia, the East, was about 3-4 years ago when I spoke to this feng shui guy, and he talked about how I don't know whether it's intergalactic movements or interstellar movements or the constellation or the astrology or whatever. Things are changing. It's not just the fourth turning. It's not just an Asian thing. It's a Western thing. I think there is much more than yes. Social media is part of it, but maybe the social media is a manifestation of what's happening. But it is indubitably happening.
Well,
how we address it, I don't know.
Well, I know
because we are right in the eye of the storm right now.
I think how it's being addressed, it's already being addressed. Actually, you can see the change happening, and usually I always say this. Usually, America is about 10 years ahead of Asia. At least 10 years ahead, if not 15 years ahead. At least approximately 5 to 7 years ahead of Europe and UK. All right. So let's say if a bad idea comes along, all right, in the United States or in Europe, okay, we in Asia are going to follow it 10 years later.
Sam, I've decided to identify with a dustbin lid. I've decided to change my nomenclature from a he.
How about your pronouns?
I've this dustbin lid.
Right. So
that's how ridiculous it is.
No. But you must remember, ever since the pervasiveness of television and movie entertainment, okay, don't even talk about social media. it has actually killed traditional culture. We don't anymore have wayang kulit. All right, we don't have any more people playing
and all these things. Yeah,
nothing.
No more, gone,
all those
yeah.
are tradition. All of those, and it's very much a takeover of technology. Let's be very honest. How technology actually changes culture, right? And then also transmit the I mean, for lack of a better word, the virus of the mind. Okay, or how you change.
Yeah, but the
in
thing
fact,
is,
and it can be good and it can be bad.
Correct. What I'm saying, well, the things here is where I differ. Cultures will ebb and flow over time. Languages have come and gone. Latin at one time was the lingua franca of the world, and today it's not. Right, and in the future, who knows what it's going to be? Maybe LOL and MSM and WTF and all that new language, right?
I think language somehow or rather people are now talking in emojis, so we're back to hieroglyphics.
Exactly.
So,
right. So what I'm saying is that whether it's technology or whether it's the passage of time, cultures and languages have always ebbed and flowed over the passage of time. But if I could just come back to Malcolm X, if I could, because I think that
what?
Malcolm X.
Okay.
Okay. So you know what Malcolm X did with the Nation of Islam, right? It actually gathered a lot of momentum following that, right? And in fact, you're right. He did rail against Martin Luther King. He was actually much more independent in thought, and he wanted.
He's much more independent where he say you're not gonna be.
It's not enough to sit at the same restaurant as white people. No,
he said, it's basically.
He said, "Be your own man.
Be your own man.
Have
build your own business.
Independence,
Do
identity.
not depend on
Correct.
the government."
And then now you got people like Jay-Z, who's a billionaire, right? I love the fact. Okay, you got people like Michael Jordan, who are now billionaires, right? You got people like now LeBron James, who are now icons in their own right, Tiger Woods, etc., etc. Because Martin, Freudian slip there. Because Malcolm X did so well with his oratory, right? We now have icons like Michael Jordan and Jay-Z. What icons will Charlie Kirk's death ensue in the future? In fact, will Turning Point become a political party in the future? Who knows, right? Will America have more than a two-party system in the future? We're trying to forecast the future here. We're just trying to be a bit constructive here,
I
right?
think I mentioned this. I don't know whether I mentioned during that or
there could be
this one.
Effect that the
to
turning
me,
point
it's turning point is probably
going
to be it's going to be a semi-official wing of the Republican Party.
Possibly.
It's basically the youth wing of the Republican Party.
Or Republican youth, right? Yeah, it could be. So I would love to see what icons of the future are birthed from Charlie Kirk's death.
But what I'm seeing now is the nihilism that actually has been perpetuated by the mainstream media and academia over the last 15 to 20 years actually is now going to get to be eroded. The reason why I see it's going to be eroded is very simple, because the young man needs to actually find a space for themselves. And then when we look at the young people, and I want to touch this as a close out to what to the memorial of what Charlie has achieved. He has brought in quite a lot of young people to the fold of accountability of being a man that leads his family. Okay, I think we grew up in a generation where a man is expected to lead. You are expected to provide, and you are expected to protect, right? And the woman is expected to support the husband, take care of the children, make sure that they have the best education and health that can be provided. Now, say what you want within the last feminization, I would call, within the feminist movement. I think it has done a lot of damage to social cohesion. It has created nihilism.
So wait, for the benefit of people, can you please, in one line, define nihilism?
Well, it's basically where people are only thinking about themselves.
Loss of purpose.
they don't have purpose, and therefore they lash out at everything as being
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they
directionless and
they
purposeless.
cannot see purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And what you need in life is actually purpose.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, the relationship between each, and the fact that the feminist movement, and I'm going to get a lot of brickbats for this, right? I'm going to get a lot of brickbats for this. I think the feminist movement has swung all the way to the extreme, in the sense that, look, after they say men and women are equal, right? Now they've come to the point where actually even men can become women. I mean, we do expect that there are very small biological mutations that straddle that particular gender divide. But the way it is today, it is almost it's almost a trend, right? Just because you say you are, so that's what you are. No shit, you're not. So if you have a dick, please don't go into women's bathroom. And if you have a dick, please don't go and into their sports area. And I think the backlash to all this extremism, I call it, to the point where actually, you can't even talk about it before being cancelled.
Yeah.
Right? What we are seeing today, and it always starts to where the culture starts. You got the backlash already in America. It is spreading to the UK. It is spreading to the EU. And it comes, you can see from the anti-immigration responses from all these countries that started in America. And the reason is very simple. It's not because they're anti-immigrant. They're anti-immigrant of people who doesn't want to assimilate, who wants to take their shit culture from where they came from and implement it into a culture that is progressive, into the Western culture that allows for freedom. And you are expected to be multicultural, supposedly, and say, okay, we're going to accept how they are because of multiculturalism. I think those days are coming to an end.
Well, the European immigration discussion is much more complex than that. I mean, some countries in Europe, for example, the Germans and the French and the British, who did take immigration, some of them useless, some of them useful, but it's also a throwback to the colonial era where actually they did, in some sense, move in the other direction and enrich themselves from the resources of other countries, right? And why did the UK take thousands and thousands of Hong Kongers? Well, it's because you did, administer Hong Kong for a number of years and so on and so on and so forth, right? So it's a much more complex discussion, but at a superficial level, you are right. Europe did overcompensate in its policies, and now they're paying the price for it.
Well, I mean,
in fact, Donald Trump just went to the UN General Assembly and talked about how immigration is one of the biggest global banes in the world today. And he's right. He is right. You see all these little civil uprisings, and not even small anymore. They're massive in Europe, right? You've got a vast swath of the French population now that maybe 10 to 15%, they don't agree with the system that France has propagated. It's quite distressing. It makes me not want to go to Paris and drink wine and eat cheese. I'm serious, right? Because you think, well, fucking hell,
it's going to be
there.
haram.
Right, do you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
etc., right?
Yeah. No, I think that if you want to go back into the historical
one must, right? Because
of it,
where we are,
I just don't want to go into that. There'll be another episode by itself.
It's a big discussion.
Right. So let's take where we are at and actually say that, look, I mean, all this overcompensation to the left has already seen not just a backlash, but an evolution back to the middle. Okay?
Yeah.
This philosophy of being reasonable, meaning that don't cancel people, what Charlie was doing, which is don't cancel people, let them come and talk to us, right? Convince each other. And if at the end of the day you can't convince each other, you agree to disagree. It's such a simple concept that was very much liberal and progressive in the 80s and the early 90s. When I was in college, that's what I took back, right? But, 10 years, within the last 10 years is, if you say a man can't be a woman, you get cancelled.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And you are called basically your speech. Your speech is hatred. Your speech is violent. Your speech can kill people.
Okay, here's where it gets problematic, right?
Right.
Why did Jimmy Kimmel get cancelled? He said things on the other side.
No, he lied. Very simple. He lied. He basically said that actually, it is the MAGA base that caused the death of that killed and just because the kid came from a conservative family, but he was basically brainwashed in college. And this is again another part that we have to be careful with our young people, right? Because of the influence of the Western media, because of the influence of the Western academia, which is very much extreme left, okay? I don't want any of my kids going to liberal arts colleges.
In the first place, I can't afford to send my kids to America, so they got to stay in local school.
Wow. Let me put it this way. Local schools
have
they only two things. They have another two problems.
I know. Let's not go down that path.
Let's not go down that
episode
path.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the thing is, whilst I think it was, I will grant one thing. What Kimmel say was relatively mild. If you were to ask me,
it's supposed to be comedian. He's supposed to.
Yeah, but where was the comedy? There was no comedy in what he said.
Because I think he read the temperature wrong, but at the same time his tonality was also off, right? But I can easily say in a less sensitive era, he wouldn't be so badly misconstrued. I'm not on the side of Jimmy Kimmel, by the way. I'm on the side of free speech.
Here's the problem.
And everybody should be allowed to speak their mind. That's what I'm trying to say.
Here's what I'm saying with respect to actually the late night shows, for example, right? I used to watch Johnny Carson. I used to watch David Letterman.
That was a different time, brother.
I used to watch Conan, right? None of them were political. Today, the last 10 years, every so-called late night comedy show, it's not a comedy show.
It's a lambast.
It's a political propaganda.
Where do you think the cinema is now, if not in the public domain, political domain? Those are the actors and comedians. Those are the caricatures of our time.
Well, let's put it this way. The market has spoken, actually. The market has really spoken. Cinema is going dead.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to watch it.
Where is the real cinema today? In the political domain. That's where the real drama is happening.
Well, I mean, I was going the other way, which is, I won't watch another MCU movie. Why? Because they are preaching the leftist values instead of actually telling a good story. Okay? You go to the late night shows, they are preaching leftist propaganda instead of telling good comedies. Okay? And that
I just go to late night shows to watch Tom Hiddleston dance. That's all. And Tom Cruise
jumping on the couch.
Tom Cruise, what? Tom Cruise doing lip sync to The Weeknd. That's fantastic, right?
But what has happened?
I don't listen to the monologues.
So that's it.
Just,
but I mean, look. I mean, I grew up on Johnny Carson, right? And Carson said this very simply. Half of my audience. I mean, I'm not going to piss off half of my audience, which is smart. And if you go and Jordan said the same thing, even Republicans buy my shoes. Now, because the mainstream media has been so propagated within the leftist movement, it's become, and that goes back, and it's become so political. And this comes to the next part of where the political movement has now has now evolved, and actually the backlash is coming, and that's is why I said in our last podcast, what did I say? I say what we see is now an ideology of jihadism in the left, and that is nothing more true than the Antifa and the BLM movements.
Just as well then that Trump has designated them a terror organization, right?
That's basically what is happening.
Well, he's trying to do what he can. Of course, it's going to be misconstrued. But
the mainstream media is going hog wild over it.
Yeah, they're calling him a fascist and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's no different than big money from Qatar or from Turkey funding the Muslim Brotherhood and funding Hamas to go and burn down cities and terrorize Israel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in this area, you go and terrorize campus where people cannot talk. You stop down. You have protests on the streets where they glue their hands to the to the roads and cars can't pass by. And when they disagree with Elon Musk, they burn down Teslas and I mean, these are terrorism.
Yeah. So
right?
what
so
this
you gotta
means...
go to the root cause of where the money is coming from. These are organized, you know.
So what this means with this designation is that the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI can pull the levers of justice and go and investigate these chains of causation. It means then that the
money flow is going to cut down.
And they're gonna shit their pants basically, right?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen,
I hope so.
Right? Which is to me it's a good thing, because you cannot have extremism spill out into the streets like it has in the last few years, right?
I mean, if you look
literally,
if you look at
you've
the
got a
right,
22-year-old kid like Tyler Robinson, right? His rifle is custom made for short range assassination. I mean, how does a kid like that get access to?
No, there was his grandpa's.
No, bullshit.
No, it's true. It is true. It is true. And you know why he used that rifle? Because it has no serial number.
It didn't have a serial number.
Yeah, because it's so old. It is.
I don't agree.
No, you go and look at the.
Yes, I know, but a rifle that old cannot be that accurate. No way. Come on, and come on.
It's only 200 feet.
There's so much more to it than meets the eye.
You gotta go to the range and start shooting lah.
How can a kid like that assemble and disassemble a rifle in a matter of minutes, right? How did he jump 14 feet from that ledge to the bottom?
I saw it.
How? You get 2 fucking broken legs. That's what happens, right?
Dude,
14 feet.
I've done it. If I was 20 years old, I could do it.
How does a confab that big miss a kid with a rifle?
Now, the only thing...
Get access to a building 200 yards away, get up there, line up the sights, pull off a shot, escape without any reprisal.
Bro.
And then what about that old dude? That old dude that was that pulled down his pants in the wake of the shooting, said it was me.
Bro.
This is an organized effort.
Bro,
that's what I'm saying.
I know where you're going with that. And I'm going to say this, right? It won't surprise me. Okay? Yeah. It won't surprise me because I still felt the same way about the Butler shooting of Trump.
Yeah.
Okay?
Come on. Where was the FBI? Hello. Right? Hello.
You know?
Right?
I mean, you got the Secret Service. I mean, that was the obvious shot.
Yeah.
Right?
And why were there no security personnel there? Come on. Why didn't you canvass the place first, right? I mean, that's what the FBI, that's what the Secret Service does. Anyway,
going back to the designation of Antifa, I think it's about time. It's not about fascism. It's about shutting down terror. I mean, you look at the difference, the huge difference. All right. Yeah. George Floyd died. Okay, because he was held up by a cop, but he basically died because he was on drugs.
Yeah.
You know, What happened after that? What happened after that with Antifa and so-called BLM? They burned cities down. Okay? Charlie Kirk died. What happened with the right side? Did you see any city being burned down? Did you see any riot? Instead, what happened? They held vigils. Instead, what happened? They went peacefully to they filled up at least, I would say, maybe 150,000 overflowing the stadium. Okay? Why is there such a different culture? Number one. Number two, both had money, but one money was funneled towards terrorism and violence. So I think until the mainstream media and the left politician admit to their culpability and try to solve this themselves, they're not gonna have that. They're gonna keep on getting pushed down. And I say, good luck to you, buddy. You got it coming. Okay.
Yeah.
And that goes to this. Can I go to this? I think the deportation of that protester on campus, I believe it was in Princeton or was it in Yale? Okay, that Mahmoud Khalil, who was on the green card, is now going to get deported to Syria or one of those countries. Well, I said good riddance. Seriously, good riddance, right? If you come to my home, behave.
Tell that to all the immigrants in Europe as well.
Exactly.
They don't follow
exactly.
the playbook.
Here's the thing with the left. They're going like, he has a right to protest. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a right to protest in that way. He doesn't have the right to organize a shutdown of campus. I think it was that lady who was going to make a speech on what's her name? The swimmer lady.
The swimmer lady.
Yeah, the swimmer lady who did not get his her prize, and she stopped because of that dickhead Leah Thomas or whatever. Now he's banned from swimming.
Yeah.
They practically chase the lady swimmer, and she was probably practically barricaded on campus from being able to do her speech by the leftist. That is how bad it had become in American campuses because of leftist propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the backlash has come. I think the evolution is gonna continue. And that I think, hey, it's a good thing, so I don't know. I mean, we had, I think nothing, can I segue this? Because why? I think nothing more confirms the changing of world order than having the UN General Assembly happen last night, with Trump addressing the UN and him basically breaking down the Lego that has been built up over 20, 30 years of multilateralism and globalism, and telling them, dude, it's time to change.
He said many things.
Can you please? I think I heard you said something about it.
The tone and manner of his address at the United Nations actually seemed to recall something like what he would normally say at the State of the Union, which is very inflammatory and very passionate. Shall we say vigorous?
Yeah.
He called climate change a con job.
What is that?
He called climate change.
Can you say that again?
He called climate change, the whole climate change movement, a con job, which, for me, and I've suspected this for years, it is a fucking con job, okay?
What the hell is wrong with the two of us?
We can see it for the bullshit that it is, but millions of people around the world.
Exactly, not millions, billions of people.
Hook, line, and fucking sinker. Fucking ESG. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
The fucking bullshit.
And we have to attend ESG seminars mandated
from the top down.
from the top down.
That's distressing because it seems that even the smartest people, inverted
Are
commas,
idiots. Okay.
Donald Trump is a lot of things, but fucking hell, man, he's got balls the size of, I don't know, this fucking thing here.
I mean, you use the word. You use the word. He's braggadocio, right?
His methodologies were great, but I think he's fucking clued on, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's fucking clued on.
I mean, let's talk about that thing that he said. I mean, with respect to the climate change being a con job, right? It's a bloody con job. Okay? It's a bloody con job. I'm still waiting for Singapore to to go down the sea. I wonder why my buddies are still going fishing in the Maldives. I thought Maldives would be under sea by now. I mean, where the hell is the ozone layer? It's the ozone layer hole is nobody's talking about it now. The polar ice cap is actually increasing. What the fuck is going on, man?
2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, Goldman Sachs actually did extensive research, and basically the sum total of their conclusion was that the world has spent something like $700 billion on the ESG movement, right? And then they also
taking people's taxpayers' money that could have been spent to actually bring the gap between the rich and the poor closer.
They could have built more tennis courts, for example, right? This is joking. But then Goldman Sachs did some research and found that the percentage of contribution to the energy production was still the same percentage rate from fossil fuels as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So nothing has changed. The world was still what the world was, right?
Yeah.
But a shit ton of money has been spent on this thing. Where's the money gone? I don't know.
Oh, the money has gone to the globalist WEF, Clinton Foundation, Gore, Soros, and all these BlackRock and all these ESG globalist capitalists. That's where the money has gone to.
So now, at this age now, Sam, what I realized, right? All these new themes, new narratives, new movements, they're not actually what they seem. They're just, that phrase, mutton disguised as lamb.
Mm-hmm.
ESG is supposed to save the world? No. They're supposed to enrich these people.
No. Right? It's just like the halal certification.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Right?
The ESG is the halal certification of the Western globalist agenda.
Yeah.
All right. The only people who made money are the one who is issuing the certification.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So, you look at it, right? You look at it. Why the hell are we building a CCS carbon capture
failed system
in Malaysia
25 years ago? Doesn't work.
For a few billion US dollar using Malaysian resources. Okay? When actually our contribution to the carbon capture, if you believe in carbon capture, all right, is a fart in the wind. All right? You got India, you got China, you got US, you got Russia. Take these 4 countries. All right? All of them are burning coal. All right? India, you just got back from India, right, buddy?
Yeah.
All right? Explain to people how people are living in India. Do you think they give a shit about driving electric cars?
They just want to get from A to B, bro, to make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still burning. I saw this YouTube where they were in Indonesia, they were burning rubber in order for them to actually make tofu. It is a huge industry in one of the big cities. Okay?
Yeah.
And you want to capture this? Hey, dude, one volcano blew up is enough to wipe out 3 years of your carbon capture, the whole world included.
Yeah.
Stupid idiots. Are you guys bloody stupid, wasting stupid taxpayer money from Malaysia? You idiot.
Okay, Sam. Before we burn any more bridges, we'd better.
Yeah, you fucking idiots.
Okay, so let's throw it forward, right? We've got a guest on Friday.
Yeah, we're gonna shift a bit on from politics and geopolitics to maybe a bit more
the trade and economy side of things.
Into global economics. How the tariffs are resetting the global world economic order, and also what's going on in Europe in terms of economics and also the UK. I think we've got a very good guest in Ravi Navaratnam, who's the executive director for Stage 3. I think that
Stage 3 being
Stage 3 is one of our prominent restructuring companies in Malaysia. And I've known him for quite some time. He's a very knowledgeable, not just knowledgeable, I think he's one of the premier voices with respect to especially within the restructuring scope of the Malaysian corporate sector.
Okay, so this is one of the goals of the Gotcha podcast. We're going to talk to third-party voices to get a
different perspective. He probably pushed me a bit more, and I'd love to have that as well.
Cool. Push you over the abyss, right?
On some of the trade thinking that I'm looking at and looking at the bond. You love him talking about the bond markets.
Good. Or what's left of the bond markets. Okay, so then we've got that to look forward to in the next episode of the Gotcha podcast. Share, like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. If you can, please. Cool,
comments, and I mean, we'd like some feedback and actually clarifications and commentaries. And as we normally say, call us idiots.
And if you've listened this far, please also tell us what you think of Sam's new hats.
I'll just take it out on special occasion. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.